Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we embark on a fascinating journey, a story woven into the very fabric of human civilization. It's a story not of kings or empires, but of something far more fundamental, something that touches every single one of our lives, every single day. We're going to explore the incredible history of money, how it began, how it changed, and how it became the complex system we navigate today. Imagine, for a moment, a world without money. How would you get the food you need, the clothes you wear, or the roof over your head? For a very long time, this was the reality. In the earliest human societies, people lived in small groups, often hunting and gathering. They shared resources, and if someone had an excess of something, like extra berries, they might simply give them to a neighbor who had a surplus of fish. This was a system built on trust and immediate need. But as societies grew larger, and people started specializing in different skills, some became farmers, others weavers, others toolmakers. A simple sharing system wasn't enough. Imagine a farmer who has a lot of wheat but needs a new axe. He finds a toolmaker who has axes. This seems straightforward, right? He offers wheat for an axe. This is what we call bartering. It was the very first form of exchange beyond simple sharing, and it sounds perfectly logical. What would you trade with if we stopped using money tomorrow? Leave a comment down below. Bartering, however, had a big problem. The double coincidence of wants. The farmer needed an axe, and the toolmaker needed wheat. What if the toolmaker didn't want wheat? What if he wanted pottery instead? Then the farmer would have to find someone who had pottery and wanted wheat, trade for the pottery, and then find the toolmaker again. It was incredibly inefficient and often frustrating. Imagine trying to buy a car today by offering 100 chickens. It just wouldn't work. Humans are ingenious creatures, and they quickly realized they needed something better. They needed something that everyone would accept as valuable, something that could be easily exchanged for anything else. This led to the rise of what we call commodity money. These were items that had inherent value or were widely desired and could serve as a medium of exchange. Across different cultures and times, various items took on this role. In some places, it was salt, a vital preservative and seasoning, so valuable that Roman soldiers were sometimes paid in it, giving us the word salary. In other regions, it was cattle, a living, breathing asset that provided milk, meat, and labor. Grains like wheat or rice were also used, especially in agricultural societies, as they were fundamental for survival. Even shells, particularly the beautiful and durable cowrie shells, became a form of currency in many parts of the world, especially in Africa and Asia. These items were useful, generally durable, and relatively easy to divide or count. They solved some of the bartering problems because people generally accepted them as valuable. But commodity money still had its drawbacks. Cattle required feeding and could get sick. Grain could spoil. Shells could be hard to transport in large quantities. What was needed was something even more portable, durable, and universally recognized as valuable. And that's where precious metals entered the scene. Gold and silver, in particular, captured human imagination. They were rare, beautiful, didn't corrode, and could be melted down and reshaped. Initially, these metals were used in their raw forms, lumps, rings, or bars. People would weigh them out for transactions. Imagine carrying scales and weights just to buy groceries. This was still cumbersome, and there was always the risk of someone trying to pass off a lower quality metal or an adulterated lump. To solve this, around 600 BC, in the ancient kingdom of Lydia, modern-day Turkey, a brilliant idea emerged: coinage. Small, standardized pieces of metal, stamped with an official mark to guarantee their weight and purity. This was a revolutionary step. Suddenly, you didn't need to weigh your gold or silver. You just counted the coins. The mark of the king or government assured everyone of their value. This made transactions much faster, simpler, and more trustworthy. Coins became the dominant form of money for thousands of years, facilitating trade across vast empires and connecting distant cultures. But even coins, especially gold and silver ones, had limitations. Large transactions required carrying heavy bags of metal. This was not only inconvenient but also dangerous, as it attracted thieves. As trade routes expanded and merchants dealt with ever larger sums, a new solution was needed. This need gave birth to paper money. It didn't appear overnight. Its origins can be traced back to China, over 1,000 years ago. Wealthy merchants would deposit their heavy metal coins with trusted individuals or shops and receive a signed receipt, a promise to pay back the coins on demand. These receipts, being much lighter and easier to carry, began to be traded themselves. If a merchant owed another merchant money, instead of going back to retrieve the coins, they would simply hand over the receipt. This was the birth of what we call promissory notes. In Europe, a similar system developed with goldsmiths. People would store their gold with goldsmiths for safekeeping and receive a paper receipt. These receipts eventually became accepted as payment. Governments then realized the power of this system. They could issue their own paper money, backed by their promise to pay a certain amount of gold or silver held in their national treasuries. This was the beginning of fiat money, money that has value not because it's made of precious metal, but because a government declares it to be legal tender and people accept it. This allowed for much greater flexibility in managing a nation's economy. The development didn't stop there. As economies grew more complex, the need for lending and borrowing became crucial. This led to the rise of banking. Banks started as places to store money safely, but they quickly evolved. They realized that not everyone would withdraw all their money at once. So they could lend out a portion of the deposits, charging interest, and thus creating more money in the economy. This is known as fractional reserve banking. It's a cornerstone of our modern financial system. With banks came other innovations. Checks, for instance, allowed people to transfer money without handling cash directly. Later came credit cards, which offered a way to make purchases without immediate cash, essentially borrowing from the bank for a short period. Debit cards followed, directly drawing funds from your bank account. These tools made transactions incredibly convenient, reducing the need to carry large amounts of physical money. And then the digital revolution arrived. The internet and computer technology transformed money once again. We moved from physical forms to digital money. Today, a vast majority of transactions happen electronically. When you pay online, transfer money through an app, or even swipe your card at a store, you're usually dealing with digital money. It's just numbers in a computer system, representing balances in bank accounts. This has made transactions instant, global, and incredibly efficient. We can pay bills, send money to family across the world, or buy goods from any corner of the planet, all with a few clicks or taps. The latest chapter in this ongoing story is cryptocurrency. Born from the digital age, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are decentralized digital currencies, meaning they are not controlled by any single government or bank. They use complex encryption techniques for security and operate on a technology called blockchain. While still relatively new and volatile, they represent a potential future direction for money, challenging traditional notions of financial control and transparency. So, from simple bartering to cowrie shells, from shiny gold coins to paper bills, and now to invisible digital bytes and blockchain, money has been on an incredible journey. Each transformation was driven by human ingenuity, a desire for efficiency, security, and a better way to exchange value. Money isn't just about wealth. It's a tool that has shaped our societies, enabled trade, funded innovation, and connected us all. It continues to evolve, reflecting our changing world, and its future promises to be as dynamic and fascinating as its past. We hope you found this video interesting. Please like and subscribe if you would like to see more, and comment down below on what you think the next evolution of money will look like.